So hi, welcome to Good Podcast with Pat from Milk. We're gonna ask some questions today. I'm gonna start. So what inspired you to start the project, and what does the project name mean?
Like the band name.
Yeah.
I feel like I've told this story. It's really underwhelming, to be honest. I Me and my friend Jack, it was just a few years ago. We were just like doing other stuff, and we kind of just were like, let's just start a dumb project just for kind of fun. No real strings attached. Just like we'll just literally the first plan was like, let's just like rip off everything that's trendy right now.
Yeah.
So that was literally the first EP. Was like, anyway, it was like sort of a joke thing. Anyway, but yeah, so the name, obviously we didn't put a ton of thought into it, and so we had chosen Milk. But then like when we were trying to create like social media and all that kind of stuff, we were like, oh, this is pretty generic. And so I literally just added a K, and I was like, yeah, this is probably fine.
This is perfect.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
And so you didn't expect this to get like off the ground at all, I guess.
Not really. I mean, we like I was doing some other stuff at the time and touring a lot with other artists, and Jack had his studio in the Twin Cities, and yeah, so it was just kind of like just like a throwaway. Let's just make some stuff that sounds like a vibe, and we literally didn't put like pretty minimal thought was involved, which I feel like usually that's how things go, or at least the things that have gone well for me throughout my career. Like it's always something that I didn't like hyper plan. It was just like, oh, I just threw this out there, and then it someone liked it. So yeah.
Solid. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So congratulations on your newest release, MYCO. How do you feel the response to it so far?
It's been cool. I mean, I've done a handful of projects the last few years, and Milk being one that I have really focused on in the last few years. I've kind of seen different waves of hype or like social media stuff go on, and that stuff just comes and goes. It's part of it. But what I really liked about this album is that, again, it in a different way, it felt like getting back to the roots of just like making, like, it kind of was, the idea was like I wanted to get back to the roots of like making things in the way I made them, kind of like when I was first starting to write music, when I was like 14 or whatever, 13. And that concept is like when you're just making stuff and you're not involved in like the business of it that much, you're just kind of creating freely, versus like, I've been in Nashville for like 7 years now, and so I've been in and out of different circles and stuff where it's kind of like you create for different purposes, and sometimes the purposes are very much like, well, we need this exact type of thing to fit this kind of mold, and that that serves its purpose. But there's times when you feel like, oh, I'm not really creating freely, or I'm not really expressing in the way I want. So I feel like kind of the thing with Milk in general was, especially after that first EP, which again was just sort of like a haha, like let's just make these songs. After that, it was kind of this continuous climb to like find that artistic freedom and that artistic like uniquity. At least for me it was. And so what I really liked about this album is it's not like, I put a ton of thought into it artistically and like conceptually, but it wasn't really like something that I was like pinpointing every fine detail. It was more of just, I like to think of it as like our first album was kind of like a much more meticulously crafted pop album, whereas this one was just kind of like creative throw up. Like it was just like get all the like gut reaction recorded, like not as like edited, not as refined, and just make it be expressive. And so I think from what I could tell, it seems like people felt that and could feel the kind of the how diverse it is, and how I mean, obviously I do think it's a well-produced album, but it's also very raw in a sense. It's not as like song crafted, if that makes sense. So I think people felt that. I think they could feel that it was like a very special vibe and a very unique experience. So I mean, that was my goal. Coming to this album, especially after COVID, everything kind of slowed down for us. And so I just was like, I don't care what this album does. I don't care if it does really well or does something or nothing or whatever. I just think it needs to be out there because it's art has value regardless. Yeah. And I thought that this did. And so I was just happy that it was out, and it seems like people were experiencing it in the way I wanted them to hopefully experience it. And it was a very cathartic album for me to create. And it really by the end of it, made me a better artist and a better writer and all these things. And so I think people could feel that depth and that purpose in it. And so, I was pretty, long story short, I was pretty pleased just to see that people were experiencing what I was trying to put out there. So
yeah,
I think you described it in like the best way possible, which was just like the creative vomit. And that's kind of what I felt when I listened to it. It was just like I was taken aback by all the sounds that I was hearing, and it was definitely like a trip on that first listen through it.
Totally. Good.
So hopefully I got the feeling that you want me to feel. I'm not sure. Awesome. I hope so. So is there any meaning behind the album name or the cover art?
Yeah, I mean, I was just talking about this with someone, I think last night. So the name, it was just like a made up name to me. I originally was like, before I started actually doing some solo music again late last year, I had thrown around that idea like a year before. And when I was doing that, for some reason that word MYCO, which literally means nothing, came in my head, and I was just like, oh, that would be like a cool project name, whatever. And so I sat on it, and then I ended up deciding I'm just going to focus on this album right now, and then we'll see after that what I want to do. And so as far as like just doing a new project and aside of solo project stuff. So what was I saying? Yeah, it ended up, instead of being like a project, it became this character. And I think the reason I chose that as the album name is just because there's kind of a lot of characters involved in this narrative, this album narrative, and there's a lot of, and some of it's like only I'm gonna know at the end of the day, because like no one can read into it as much as like I made it up in my head. But like hopefully people can pick up on some of the narratives that I tried to put in there, and frankly I don't remember half of them in the moment. Like I was like, yeah, this is cool, and then I look back and I'm like, I don't remember everything, all the details of this, but cool, holds up. Anyway, so yeah, it kind of I call it an opera a lot, because I see it as kind of like this, it's not a rock opera, it's a pop opera, it's like an alt hip hop opera, I don't know. And it kind of centers around this kind of like, I don't know, like the ego character, this I kind of always refer to it as like a shadow of yourself, like the side of you that craves certain things that are not helpful for you, or not actually ultimately fulfilling, like fame or money or even like things that are normally good, like respect or whatever, like all these things that people chase after, especially in the art music realm. So that was kind of like the main point of it, was like there's all sorts of offshoots of that in different narratives, but the main kind of focal quote unquote character, so to speak, was this kind of like this dichotomous character against my self, which, I mean, that's the point, is that you have both, right? But anyway, yeah, so that was kind of the theme. The artwork, honestly, I think we were so fast and loose with the art. Like, I think I just took that picture when I was over on a trip working in Israel last year. It was like a picture of the Dead Sea or something, or like the sky. And I was just like, oh, this looks nice. It's a sky. And, it felt, there's within the album, there's a lot of like dichotomy of light and dark, and like nature versus like city almost, or like futuristic, like pure versus corrupt, any sort of dichotomy you might find, like even in the production, like heavy distortion paralleled against like, clean, like, or like heavy auto-tune robotic against like, very, raw, real sounds. So we kind of like creating that dichotomy and that like battle between all these polars. So the thought with that was kind of like, here's this beautiful backdrop, classic, just cloudy sky, and then the kind of font choice or design we went with was like a more futuristic vibe to kind of a little bit offset that. And then, the little, it's just simple. We didn't put a ton of thought into it, but those are kind of the main points of the juxtaposition. And then I just really liked scanning things. So that's why we kind of like did the scanner thing. It wasn't like, oh, this is perfect. I was just like, no, scanning's fun. Let's just do that.
Yeah.
But then, there's a little star in the middle, and that's just obviously just representing like the whole, like, you want to be a star narrative, like this chase after acclaim, or like, fame, or success, I guess. So yeah, that's a little bit of it in a nutshell.
Okay.
Wow. You put a lot of thought into like every detail. And as you said, even if you can't like remember every little detail, you still like I'm sorry. That's crazy. That's awesome. Yeah.
I mean, I could go on for a long time, but it would take like 8 hours, and I'm gonna fall asleep. So, but yeah, there's a lot of, I did put a lot of thought in the story, and I'm glad I did. And I just hope that as people continue to listen, or if someone new picks it up and takes a listen, I'm hoping that, even if it's only bits and pieces, I'm hoping people can somehow feel their way around in these narratives, and this kind of little universe that's created in the record. And hopefully people can take away what they need to at the end of it, which ultimately, I mean, the message at the end of the record, I think is pretty obvious, but like the message at the end is you're supposed to ask yourself, like, regardless of what your thing is that you're chasing after, like whether it's like acclaim or success or money or power, or even things that could potentially be like, good things, but if you become like obsessive over them, like even things that are not bad inherently, like identity, like who am I as a person, like, and then you're putting so, like, for me as an artist, it's like I'm an artist, but then if all I do is focus on that, and then my whole life hinges on the success or failure of my work and my art, and I can't live in the reality of separation from that. So I'm hoping that people get to the end and they recognize that the long story short message of the whole record is basically like, ask yourself if it's worth sacrificing the truly good things in life, which are, peace and contentment and love and joy and patience and, friendships, family ships, just it's coming to grips with the fact that the thing that you may think you need is actually destroying you. So
yeah.
Wow.
I feel like you just answered like all of our questions, but you didn't. But I'm just amazed about like just the amount of depth and thought that just went into this project. So thank you for that. I love when bands and artists do that. So that's sick. So what was your writing process like for this album, and how does it differ from your first release? I remember you said your first release was kind of just like a haha, let's just joke about this and put this out, and now you're actually taking this project more seriously. So can you tell me about that?
Yeah, it was kind of an evolution. I mean, like when I said, when we started a couple years back, it was just like, let's just write some fun songs. We'll just kind of do what's trendy right now. No thought, just fun, head empty. And yeah, like it was fun, but like there was no like purpose behind it, which is fine. I don't know, it's fine. It was fun. But like once I realized that people kind of liked what was going on at that time, I was like, oh, well, I don't like, I don't get down with that. Like, even though in that moment it was just for fun, but like I was like, no, that's not what I want. So we I think each project kind of took on a life of its own. And I think even though I like where I'm at now more than where I was a few years ago artistically, I think that in the moment for each release, I was genuinely invested in making sure I was putting my and our like best foot forward when it came to artistic integrity, when it came to the craft and the skill sets. And but like, in general, one big difference on this album compared to most of the other projects was this one was a lot more collaborative. Like a lot of the other projects, like I was mostly just at the helm. There was other contributions, but I was kind of holding the reins, 90% of the time. Whereas this project, like I definitely still somewhat steer the ship, just because I feel like every artist or group or collaborative effort kind of has that person oftentimes. But this one was a lot more collaborative. Like me, I brought in a couple outside friends to help me write a couple songs or produce a couple songs, which is rare for us, and for myself in general. Only like 2 songs, but still. And then the first and last songs, I think. But then like John also was like much more involved in this record and like the writing and like production ideas. And so I would just say in general, I think one reason why this album shines additionally is it has a few more cooks in the kitchen, so you get a little bit more of a unique flavor compared to even just like the last album. And just, over time, artistic preferences change and stuff too. So like there was just a new headspace in this record. But yeah, I think the collaborative aspect of several of the tracks, made it something that was a little more, I don't know, just like more of a soup of ideas versus like got more of, just my own thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Headspace, because I would like to ask where your Headspace was at while you were writing this.
Good transition.
Thank you.
Great transition. Good work. Let's see. I think some of the songs on it, I think I wrote like fall of 2019. Like there was a couple, not very many. Like, or I like would make some of the beats or tracks back then. I mean, it was kind of all over. I mean, I think my mind at that time was in a headspace of, with our first album, it's not like we ever had like a hit or anything. And so everything was pretty underground and still is, or underground, what are you going to call it? Like small, like not mainstream or, whatever. But then at that time around the first album, I felt like, somehow I had drummed up plenty of, just with Twitter and stuff, it was for whatever reason at that time, maybe it was the time frame, maybe it was just what I was doing, or maybe it was just what I thought was important. I felt like I was able to drum up a lot of hype around that album.
Yeah.
So that went well for us when it came to touring, and that went well for us when it came to selling merch and hype and stuff. But then as that stuff died down, and kind of, you know, the fans that genuinely cared about the music kind of stuck around, and like, you know, just the like social media blah blah kind of wore off. That was a hard thing for me to swallow, because I was associating, again, kind of to tie into the theme, I was associating success and like the value of my work against like against attention. So I thought that attention was the valuable thing. And again, it's like, yeah, if you're making stuff, you want to be perceived, but what are you being perceived for? And so, you know, it was kind of a flip. Like, so on one sense, it you know, that kind of year after that album was out, and then into the next year as this album and the previous EP were being made and released and all that stuff, it was a time for me to really sit back and reflect on, you know, what am I trying to do with my work, and what matters with this. And so what I walked away with, you know, as I was working on this one, was the fact that I think I had, because at the time that was such a novel concept to me of, oh, like there's like attention here, that's cool to see. But then I wasn't asking myself, is this for the right reason? Am I receiving this attention because people are actually like genuinely invested in the art, and it's the art is affecting them, or is much of this attention simply from creating some sort of presence online? And that's where kind of the you know, stuff hits the fan. And so I think going in musically, the thought process was, I don't care about how I'm perceived. I'm going to put out something where we, whatever. And I hold this to this day, like now as I'm working on my own solo stuff still, and as this MILKK album has come out, I don't really care how I'm perceived as an artist. I just want people to experience the work, and if that draws them in, then that's it. Like, you know, yeah, I'm still gonna crack my jokes or whatever, or say what I want to say, but I just don't. It's like it's a difference of importance. And so with that headspace in mind, making the album, it was a cathartic process of unpacking that in a way, and going through like, okay, here's all these things that I've chased for a long time. Why have I been chasing them? Where do they actually lead? Are these the pathways I actually want to go down? You know, what's the real, why am I, like, motive? Why am I doing these things? And why am I feeling these ways in different scenarios? And so it just led to really unpacking that in that record of diving into that egocentric and selfish, you know, attention seeking mindset versus the mindset that says, I'm okay with anything, and whatever happens, I'm just going to put something out there that I care about. Exactly. And then I'll, you know, even just diving into other things like that I hadn't really went into.
Whichever one. There you go.
All of the above. Much before, like, you know, on this record was some of the first songs where I dove somewhat into my, you know, relationship with my wife more, or like I dove into my relationship, into my faith more, or into like just even the concept of creativity in general. Like there's like a character kind of dedicated to even just like the creative concept. And so it was I guess at the end of the day that I walked away from it with, it was a very cathartic experience. And that plus like doing a lot of therapy over the last year, not only for career related stuff, but just in general. But that just created such a massive like mental shift of excuse me just a huge mental shift of how I perceive how I work, and like, you know, how I perceive success. And then like when something good does happen, like how to work towards not letting that go to your head. And then if something bad happens or you fail, how to not let that go to your heart and make you think that, you know, it's just finding that balance. And, you know, so I guess the older I get and the more I am in this, I mean, this is my job like every day. So like the more I do it, I just have learned more and more about how to manage expectations while still like pouring yourself into it, and just recognizing the value of the work on its own. And then, regardless of how it's perceived from like an industry perspective, like as long as people are resonating with the work, or the work is resonating with them. But when I say the work, I mean like a project or a song or an album or the art or whatever. If people are resonating with it, that ultimately matters, and that's going to build a longer lasting relationship between listener and whatever project it is. Versus like haha funny Instagram post. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
So I think it was just that it was a long process, and you know, I'm never perfect at that stuff still. I still struggle with different things now and then, but I feel like I'm just in a much healthier mindset and a much healthier relationship with my own work, both in the sense that I don't criticize my own work as much. Like I'm very proud of what I do, and like I think I'm really good at what I do,
as you should.
I'm confident, but at the same time I'm also not tying like the success or failure of different things I put out as much to like my own just like identity as a person. So yeah, long answer, but just a much needed growth year.
Yeah,
definitely.
Okay.
That was a really good answer. Thank you.
I'm loving your answers.
Me too. They're awesome. So while listening through the album, what band or artist influences pop out the most to you, if any?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously I listen to other stuff and I get inspired at different times by different things, but I think that's the thing I've also learned to do in the past couple of years is, you know, there's a difference between inspiration and influence, or like there's a huge difference between inspiration and what do you want to call it? I'm not trying to say as extreme as like copying, but like I want someone to listen to my work and not be like, oh, this is cool, it sounds kind of like this band or this artist. It's more like, oh, this is cool, I haven't heard this. And I think I've finally got to a point with what I do that I feel like I've kind of reached that spot of artistic uniquity. Like people, like whether it's my own solo stuff or the MILKK stuff, I think, well, obviously the MILKK album is just kind of all over the place, so you can't really be like, oh, this is a MILKK song per se, but like maybe that's the thing, is that we've allowed it to be that, and maybe that's the thing. But even just on my own stuff, like there's production choices and the way I do lyrics that I think is just my thing. And like I think, you know, I've sent demos to friends and stuff, or like unreleased tracks, and they'll just be like, yeah, this is like 100% a Pat track, and I'm like, good, that's what I want.
Exactly.
Wait, so I got sidetracked for a second.
Okay.
What was the question again?
What band or artist influences?
Artist influence. Yeah.
I mean, you kind of answered it though.
Yeah, you kind of did.
Yeah, you've got your own sound.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You did.
I will say, like, I know a lot of people aren't huge fans. Maybe more of the person than the music, but I've always been a very, very big Kanye West fan.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know, obviously I'm not a rapper, but I would say that hip hop and rap and stuff is one of the more heavily listened to genres in my, you know, daily life. So there's obviously a lot of influence in that space, just like there's a lot more production choices from that realm, and even on this album. But I would say some. But yeah, Kanye's kind of my, like, you know, even though he's just kind of a chaotic person, I just think he's such an important artist, you know, regardless of whatever he's doing. And so that's for me, like, I'm always like very inspired. I'm not even by particular sound, but more by the approach of, you know, again, it's the same approach. I'm going to be my own artist. I'm just going to do whatever I want. And that's the inspiration I've taken kind of from him.
Yeah.
I would say some other things, like even like, so I mean, if I'm going to compare stuff, like even like on the track Black Lights on the album, like,
so true,
there's definitely influence on that record from like Kanye's album Yeezus, which is like a super dark, like electronic, weird, distorted album. And we were kind of like, let's just like do something in homage to that, you know?
Yeah, you did it very well.
Great. Yeah, like there's that. There's I got really into like electronic music over the last year, so just a lot of like kind of like just different types of electronic music, and like, so there's definitely some house inspiration on some tracks. There's like there's just, yeah, a little bit more in that space on a few tracks. I'm trying to think of anything else that like really, I mean, I would say even not even so much musically speaking, but just even like more maybe cultural influence, or like just like different art forms in the world, like internationally. Like, as I've stated many times, and if anyone who follows me or knows me knows, I'm just a big like anime fan, and like a big fan of like Japanese culture in general. And like I've done a lot of collaborations recently with like a lot of Korean artists or like Japanese artists. And so there is a lot of inspiration in that. And even back, this album was, you know, most of it was made like a year ago, but there's a lot of inspiration. Like even some of the song names are like influenced from like Japanese language or like anime kind of things. Like there's the track, there's a lot of interlude tracks on the album. So there's the one track called Yon, and it's kind of like a poem.
Yeah.
And that was a play off of, so that character, this like Yon character, is sort of a representation of creativity. And Yon is the Japanese word for four, the number 4, and 4 is like my Enneagram type, which the you know, like a personality typing. And that the type 4, you know, I don't go deep on that stuff, but like it's basically like is creative, seeks to be unique, seeks to like have identity from, you know, a unique identity sort of thing. So that was kind of like, you know, the inspiration there. Like even like there's the other track that precedes the kind of like trappy bossa nova track. It's called Tashi. It's right before that Lemon Lime track. And that was a play. The Tashi character is like kind of the self character, like the self-aware presence. And so like Watashi being like the Japanese word for like I or like self. And so I just like, you know, took a part of that word, kind of, you know, Englishized it, and like that was kind of how I made. So yeah, there was like some cultural influence just when it came to like creating the space it lived in. I kind of described the album a few times as like an anime alt hip hop opera.
Yeah.
Because, like if I had like a huge budget and I could like make a movie based on the album, it would just be like a crazy anime. So so musically, obviously, you know, different things, but overall trying to just not pull things in from other spots and just literally do whatever our gut was telling us, and then pulling in some inspiration from like more visual sources or more like different, you know, like international inspirations of inspiring other art in the world sort of thing. Yeah. So.
Wow. Oh my God. Again, your answers are like blowing my mind.
So this question should be...
I'm just trying to keep things interesting.
Yeah.
You are.
Yeah.
You are.
You've got a lot to say. A lot of good things to say.
That's a good thing. Yeah.
I ramble a lot. Anyone who talks to me is like, bro, you got to stop. But then I just like, I got to dive in.
Exactly.
Your press person was like, we'd like you to keep it to 30 minutes, and we hit the 30-minute mark, and we're nowhere near done. So,
oh, that's fine. I'm good.
Okay. If you're good, we're good.
Yeah.
So this question should be super, super quick. Off the top of your head, I want you to describe this album for new listeners in 3 words. No more, no less. Don't say it all at once now.
Yeah.
I know. Well, I'm trying to decide which direction to go here.
Okay, that's fair.
Because I've already said like my first thing I was gonna say was like I'd already used it in the last answer, like anime pop opera.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess, can I swear on this podcast?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, like I guess if I had to give 3 words, just say what the fuck. Like
that's perfect.
Okay. That's great.
It's that's the reaction I got from a lot of people. It's just because it was like, I don't really know what to make of this, but it's a vibe. Like it's all over the place, but it's a vibe and it's cohesive somehow. And I'm like, okay, cool, that's the goal. So
all right. That was
That's
pretty
perfect.
much my review when we chatted about it on the podcast. It was just,
Yeah.
what the fuck did I just listen to?
But it was a good one though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
So where do you see the project in the next 5 years?
Honestly, I don't know. We don't have any plans right now. I mean, obviously COVID just kind of, everyone got a little tanked from that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I'm just happy the album's out. It needed to be out. It's a piece of work in its own right. And I think honestly, we'll probably just chill for a little bit. Like, you know, there's no touring going on. Like it's not like we can tour on the album. I just, you know, I just hope new people discover the album over the next several months, and you know, maybe we can build off of that. But I think, you know, kind of to continue off of some of the thoughts from before, it's just kind of like I can't control, 1, the world at large. 2, I can't control my own existence. Like, you know, it's out of my hands. And so I am like just happy the album's out. Probably just gonna let people enjoy it, and then, you know, when the time comes that we feel inspired to make something new, or you know, we'll do that. But I think right now, like this album was so immersive, and we're all just working on different things. Like I think we're just happy that it's out right now, and we just want to let that be what it is for now, and then you know, go from there without overthinking the future.
Definitely let it have its own spotlight.
Yeah.
All right. So for the last couple of questions, I can shift away from music and go straight to death row.
Boom.
So if you're on death row, what would your last meal be with a drink?
Yeah. Well, we could go different ways on this.
Okay.
I guess it would depend. I don't know. Maybe I need to go on death row so I can find out.
So you could be in the right headspace.
Right. I really need to experience it to know it, to truly know.
Of course.
I mean, like, if I, like, there's one part of me where my gut reaction is like, just get me like, well, I was gonna say like, just get me like 6 black bean vegetarian quesadillas from Taco Bell, and I'll just like dominate that. But the problem is I need to know that I'm going to be executed like very shortly after I do that, because I know that I would get super sick from that. So my thought is, if like I'm about to eat and I am going to die like an hour later, let's go, just keep them coming. Something like that. Like I have many like fast food guilty pleasures. But if it's not going, you know, the trash route, I definitely, some of my favorite foods are like Thai food, like Japanese ramen, and like I feel like if I could get like, depends on where it's coming from. If I'm in death row in the Midwest, I'm a little scared to get some fresh, some fresh Thai food. But maybe if I'm on the coast, maybe if I'm dying in California or New York City or something, maybe I'm getting just some like amazing like Penang curry, or like some even just like, even though it's so basic, like a good pad Thai is like insane.
So true.
Or like drunken noodles are good. I'm a big fan of Indian food too. I went to India. My stepdad's from India, and I went there like a long time ago, and or like when I was like 14 or something. But yeah, I'm a big, anything with spice is kind of my energy, or just like flavor. So like, but yeah, I don't know. I know it's like such a. I'm not giving a specific answer, but
it's okay.
I would probably just be like one of everything, one of all these things I like. Bring them in. Give me a pad Thai. Get me some. Bean
burritos.
Yep. Get me my Taco Bell. Get me a really nice local ramen shop. Tonkatsu. And just bring them all in. I'll eat it all. Make sure you execute me like right away, so I don't get a stomach ache and die with a stomach ache. Like that's horrible. That'd be my big take.
Yeah.
And a drink.
There you go.
I don't know.
What goes with all of that food?
Nothing.
Water.
Let's Taco Bell. Water would be great.
Yeah.
Maybe like a really high quality like gin and tonic or something. Or frankly, if I was to go with the Taco Bell, let me just say, I don't drink a lot of soda anymore, but like Baja Blast is good only at Taco Bell.
Yes.
The moment you take the cup outside of Taco Bell, it's like it turns into like garbage water.
Exactly.
When it's in the restaurant, it's like there's this special like barrier they've created for the molecules of the drink, and like the moment it steps outside this like radio wave barrier, it just like it's disgusting. But like when it's in the restaurant, it's like, wow, this is pretty fire. Yeah That's my theory. That's my conspiracy theory. We've got all the QAnon things going on. We've got the classic, we've got aliens, we got all these things, but the only one I trust is they're doing something to that Baja Blast.
The second you walk out the door.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you could live in one fictional world for a week, where would you live?
I've thought about this.
Good to know. Good.
I'm a big. Well, now I gotta think more.
Oh God.
You had it.
I'll stick with it.
Okay.
I'm a big Nintendo guy. I don't play a lot of like PlayStation or Xbox games or anything like that. I'm pretty strictly a Nintendo guy. I've thought about this before. Like, what game would I want to live in if I could live in a game? My favorite game of all time is a couple of the Legend of Zelda games, but I don't know if I'd want to live in that world because like it's pretty dangerous.
Yeah.
So I honestly think maybe I'd want to live in like Pokemon world.
Okay,
like
that's solid.
And just like catch these little critters and make them fight for my glory and train them up and be friends with Pikachu or whatever. I think that'd be a pretty good time.
That'd be pretty sick. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, you tell me then. Like, what's your world that you want?
To everyone be kid.
And Peaky Blinders.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Me and my wife watched a couple episodes and we never went further. I think I went out of town and we just never did it. But it looks scary. It looked scary from like a scary world.
Oh, it'd be horrifying. I'd die in like the first 2 days, but it'd be cool while it lasts.
You have a great British accent.
Yeah, exactly. I'd have a cool haircut and a cool hat.
Yeah. Do you like? Are like British shows? Are those ones that you like?
I mean, my mom watches like mainly British shows, but I don't know.
Because like, have you seen like Sherlock, like BBC Sherlock?
Yeah,
I made my wife watch it. I had seen it a few years ago, and I made her watch it, and I was like, "This show's great."
Mm-hmm.
It's
Have you seen
fire.
the newest Sherlock? I think it's called like Elementary. Have
Mm-mm.
you seen that one? It's pretty good. Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
I really like the Benedict Cumberbatch one.
Yeah.
That one was like really good TV.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. The Peaky Blinders, that threw me for a loop.
Oh.
That's the world you want to live in. I'm like, all right, hey,
Hey, it's something new to mix it
Power
up a little
to you.
bit.
Power
Yeah.
to you, yeah.
Hey, before you do that, Shane, I have to ask, what do you think of Robert Downey Jr.'s Sherlock? I'm sorry, we're talking about Sherlock now, so
Oh, like the movie?
Mm-hmm. I think it's 3. Is it 2 or 3?
I might have seen 1, and I don't have much of a memory of it, so I must not have been like enamored with it.
Yeah.
But then again, it was probably a long time ago.
Okay, that's fair.
I'm only versed in like BBC Sherlock.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I think I had only seen. There is another Sherlock.
There's another?
Well, there was a spoof on Sherlock that Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly did, and it was terrible.
Oh God, thank you. It was horrible.
Yeah, it wasn't even like I'm a big like Will Ferrell's fine. I'm a big John C. Reilly fan because he's associated with like I'm a huge like Tim and Eric fan. I don't know if you know that stuff, but like it's like an Adult Swim show from a while back, and then they've done a bunch of shows. It's like absurdist comedy, like just weirdo stuff. But he was involved in that for a long time, and like so I've always liked. Like I think that what's the one that like Step Brothers is hilarious. Like me and my wife will watch that every year or something, and it's just like it's a lot, but it's funny. But yeah, some of the other ones like the Sherlock one, I was like, wow, this is like really bad.
Yeah,
this is not funny.
Yeah, yeah, my family took my mom out to see it for like Mother's Day or something, and we all walked out of the theaters just like, wow, that was not good. Because it was so disappointing. Like it's a good, like I feel like leading cast, but it was just so disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, you go into those movies typically, and you kind of know like you're not going in for an Oscar-worthy thing, but you're hoping to just have a good time and like hoping it's pretty funny. Yeah. And so when it's not, you're just like, damn, this was not worth it.
Yeah.
I feel you.
So I thought of asking the last question, and every single person we've spoken to have said that it is the most important question.
Okay.
What's your favorite color?
I hate that question. What's a better? No, just kidding.
Your questions suck.
Give me a new one.
What's my favorite color? This is one that's gonna take the longest.
It's all good.
If it comes to clothes, I wear black the most just because it's easy. And it's classic. Like you literally can't go wrong with black anything. I don't know. It's changed throughout time, but I think in the past year I've been more interested in like. Again, I know this isn't a direct answer, but I think I've been more interested in like muted earth tones, like like tans or like olive greens, or you know, like my favorite outfit combo right now is just literally like even just like a black t-shirt like this or whatever, and then like I have this pair of nice like kind of like boutique khaki like things that I've been rocking, and then I'll have like I bought some like I treated myself a couple weeks ago and bought like some like just classic like Puma sneakers, like the old school like kind of basketball like vibe sneakers, and like not really treat yourself. They're only like $60, but I never buy shoes. Like I usually buy so I was like, oh, this is cool. And so like just an outfit like that, simple. Anyway, that's not colors, it's outfits. But I'm saying I like just like then again I do like a good glaring neon now and again. It depends. It always depends. Like again, to tie it back to the album or the previous conversation, I think it's like actually I don't know how I was gonna tie it back. I was gonna see if I could figure out how to get it there. I was gonna to take it there along the way, and then I died. Yeah, I don't know. It just depends on the context. Depends on what's going on. So no direct answer, but colors are fine with me.
All right.
Okay.
Colors
that's
are
fair.
great by me.
I think
That's
that you only
valid.
gave us about 2 direct answers, and those were the last 2 questions. So
Yeah.
I was kind of expecting that.
Great. Yeah.
So as I said, that's all the questions we have today. Is there anything that you would like to plug? Are you going to give me a wraparound answer on that one too?
Oh, no doubt. I never give direct answers, but that's I've done too many like interviews and all those things, and like I've listened to other people's, and I'm like my vow as of a while back was like, I'm never going to give a boring generic answer.
Yeah.
Is my goal.
We appreciate it. We got a lot of those.
We do.
Yeah, I just think no one wants to hear that. Just say literally whatever, something real and fun, and just word vomit. To tie it back to the album of Artistic Vomit, just word vomit it out, and you never know.
No one wants your PR
vomit.
bullshit.
I have nothing to plug. Just hope you like the album. If you like that, there's other albums that we've put out. You can listen to those. If you like that and you can't get enough, I've been putting out some of my own solo music too. You can check that out. It's a brand new project. So between all that, there's plenty of stuff from the MILKK/Pat vibes to get your brain in. So
Hell yeah.
Solid.
All right. Well, thank you for sitting out. This has been Pat from MILKK and We're the Good Noise podcast.